Vikram, it's always fun chatting with people that are connected with Sharon Srivatsa, and Chris Carter is connected with Sharon Srivatsa, and he runs about 5-6 businesses. He's really found he has a wealth of knowledge, and that's really what he talks about how to really get great information as a real estate agent, how to become a knowledge broker in your area, because I think that really, buyers and sellers trust people. Like you said on the podcast, like there's that know, like, and trust factor where it's like, that might be true, but people need to trust you, and the way they trust you is through your education. I remember back to even when I was in corporate, I knew a lot about our product, had a ton of product knowledge, and that is really what drove people to work with me, and just a ton of valuable information. But what are some things that you took away from this podcast?
Yeah, dude, no, I mean, it's inside the Growth Academy. Last week, one of my clients are like, yo, how do we become the knowledge broker? And I'm like, tell me what's going on in your marketplace. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's what I mean. Like, you don't know what's happening statistic wise. Like, yes, you need to learn the scripts. Yes, you need to know the tonality. Yes, you need to have the body language. It's like when people come into your world, they get leads, but they don't know how to convert them. I said, but totally, if you can convert the lead and then you show up and the prospect knows more information about the market than you do, why in God's green earth would you feel that they should use you to purchase or sell their property? Like, it's ludicrous that you go to a 5-star restaurant and you don't know the menu, or the waiter doesn't know the menu, and he expects a big tip. It's like, hey, what's in this dish? Oh, I don't know. Let me borrow your menu. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm paying $80 for a steak, $100 for a steak, and you don't know what the sauce is. So I love the fact that Chris was able to rattle off all the stats from top to finish. What time is it, bro? Top to bottom.
I know. Top to bottom.
Top to bottom. Yeah. What was your jam with him?
Man, I was having a conversation with a client the other day, and we were doing a coaching session. We were listening to one of his sales calls, and and we realized that there were different things that, like tonality, things that you talk about in the Sales Academy, tonality, conscious communication method. We was just missing intent listening. And as I was doing this coaching call with him around this specific call, we realized that he wasn't using the script. He wasn't super confident on the phones. And that's, we even chatted about, this was a buy sell, like this was a really, really good lead. And he recognized it was a really good lead. And this prospect wanted to downsize. They wanted to downsize, but a very simple question, like asking the question, like, why do you want to downsize? And I made him aware of, things like listing loan. It's like where they essentially will help you renovate the property and increase the equity of the home before you sell it. It's like having these key things in your back pocket that allow you to create unique selling propositions is so important. So it's like one element, like in this podcast that I really loved is like, he knew the market, and he knew, like Chris in his market, he knew the prices, and he knew the general contractors that were able to complete the job for a fraction of the price, which is ultimately a massive, massive sales proposition that allows you to close more deals. And he said over the last X amount of years, I forget the amount of years, but he's like, I can 100% see at least 200 deals that came directly from my knowledge. And I think that is something that you need to listen to. If you're listening right now and you're considering watching this podcast, there's so much value here around really getting the information to help you close more transactions. So I think that the best place from here, Vikram, is for us to hop into the show. You're listening to the #1 real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, and stories to help you win in your local market today. My name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I am joined with Vikram Deol of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram Deol, I even gave you a little plug there with the Real Estate Sales Academy, so you're welcome. I know that sometimes you're like, oh, you don't think about me, you don't think about my company, but I did there. So Vikram, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm just reading some Slack messages from a complete dumb fuck that we hired, and oh my God, he gave the wrong banking information, and now he's he's telling Ray he's still an employee of our company. I'm like, bro, you can say whatever you want to say, but yeah, I guess this is a lesson to me. When your gut says don't hire somebody, don't fucking hire them. So I'm doing good, Cody. I'm doing good.
Other than that, what I would recommend, Vikram, if I must, is you turn off your Slack messages so we can introduce our guest.
Well, you were screwing up you were screwing up the introduction for the last half an hour.
No,
so
bro, yeah, sure. Okay.
It's St. Patrick's Day and you're not even wearing green. Like, come on.
Either are you.
Have you seen my underwear?
No, I haven't. I don't want to. So
yeah,
we're going to introduce our guest because we're going to introduce our guest right now because this could go very south very quickly. And speaking of south,
just like my
Florida,
green underwear, just like my green underwear.
And just like Florida, I have my man, Chris Carter, here with me. Chris, why don't you give everyone that doesn't know you a high-level overview on kind of who you are, where you're at in the world, and how the heck you got into real estate. Give us the backstory.
Cool. Thank you. So I've been in real estate sales for 15 years through RE/MAX brokerage here in Destin, Florida. I've been doing flips and remodels for the last 10 years. And then before I got into real estate, I was a county property appraiser for the 6 years before that. So been in the real estate for a while. Never thought I would be a realtor. Never planned on it. Somebody talked me into it, and I've enjoyed it every day since.
So, I know when we're talking in the green room, you got a lot of different hands and a lot of different, well, you got two hands, but in a lot of buckets and doing a lot of things. But we're also talking about something that you said really has helped you, and it's also helped me. And it was your ability to help buyers and sellers with renovations and the knowledge of being a GC and somebody who's flipped properties and you're an appraiser as well. So you have an interesting knowledge background that most real estate agents will probably never possess. How has that helped you attract business, or how has that helped you, keep business that might have gone to somebody else?
Definitely. So it's more of I think overall it's more helped me keep the business than anything. Once I meet that client and they understand the knowledge that I have with construction industry, and as for a buyer's side of it, when you get that buyer and you're able to walk them through the house and explain to them the cost of updates that they're looking to do to a house, it helps them feel more comfortable with you as their agent. So what I've learned is that most buyers walk through a house and everything they look at is $10,000. Carpet's $10,000, countertops $10,000, kitchen cabinets $10,000 minimum. So they get freaked out over the cost of what this house is going to cost them. But when you can go through and tell them, hey, that carpet's probably going to actually run you about $3,000, not $10,000, then they have that comfort of, hey, we can move forward with this house. We can actually afford it. That's really helped out. On the seller side, what we do is on the same thing is that we tell them, hey, the buyers are looking at your house in this instance, and they're thinking it's going to cost $10,000 carpet, blah, blah, blah. And so what we do then is say, hey, how about we just spend the $3,000 now and put the carpet in? And how about we put the granite countertops in for you now? And that granite countertop, may cost you $2,000, but pretty much we're going to guarantee you $10,000 more in profit by doing the $2,000. What I've learned is that most buyers can get a loan. They don't have the cash in their pocket. And so if you can provide them with the upgrades in the house for the seller, you're going to make more money because they can get the loan.
Yeah, man.
How can a real estate agent that might not possess the knowledge or the skills around having a GC, how can they find this information? Like when you first got in the industry, because like Vic was saying, a lot of people just don't have this knowledge, so they can't actually, they're not able to have these conversations with buyers and sellers because they don't possess the knowledge in order to have those good conversations around getting the listing or pricing strategy. Like, where did you get this information, and where can somebody that might not necessarily have the information find it?
Great question. So what I would highly recommend is realtors should reach out to, say, like a carpet guy or a flooring guy, and have them quote their house so they can get an idea of what flooring costs. Or, a lot of these people that are selling flooring would love to talk to you, would love to help you out, because you're going to recommend them later on down the road to your client. So they're going to give you as much information in as much time as you want. And same with the granite. So the biggest thing on a realtor side, look at what you can do to a house to upgrade a house to add more value. And usually it's your kitchens, bathrooms, and flooring. And so, start getting the quotes and get an idea and interviewing the people who sell those things, because they're going to be more than excited to tell you how it is, because they're hoping for your business in the future.
When a real estate agent, so I had the luxury of falling into flipping houses at right before I started selling real estate, and that added a ton of knowledge for me. And I would like when I got into real estate, I went to every single one of my inspections, and when I didn't have properties, I would ask the inspector if I could just tag along with him, and he was like, "Vic, that's weird, but I'll tell you where I'm going, and if it's part of your company, right, you can reach out to the agents and ask them if you could tag along." And I would get into the crawl spaces. I saw big bright green spiders. Like, I would get into the attics. I would see the rats and the droppings. And you start to realize that this is part of like everyday common stuff. What do you like? I don't want to talk a lot about it, but like, if you were to talk to an agent that doesn't have a lot of knowledge about this, what do you think you have made just from like a financial, maybe not a financial sample, but like how many more deals do you think you've closed over the years because you knew this versus not knowing it? Like, 100 deals, 50 deals, 500 deals, like how many deals do you think you have got that you probably might have lost if you weren't able to actually deliver so much real value?
So I've been, I've had the knowledge, the real full knowledge, probably in the past 10 years. We've been flipping, remodeling, and building in the past 10 years. And probably in the past 10 years, at least 200 properties more because of that knowledge.
Wow.
Because that client definitely feels comfortable. I mean, I just got one yesterday that the client was working with somebody else, and they called on a sign call. But once we started talking, they're like, "You definitely know what you're talking about. I need your help for the future to walk through these houses and be able to tell me what it's going to cost." And so it's huge.
A lot of people talk about know, like, and trust, but I'm a believer that people won't get to know or like you if they don't trust you. And it sounds like you would agree that because they trust your value that you bring in your expertise, that's what helped you win all of these deals. So that's freaking awesome. Cody shared with me that you got your hands in a lot of companies, and I know this is where Cody's probably itching to go down. How would you say like having other companies just helps your processes in real estate?
Good question there. So it's still gaining more knowledge. Like the goal, I guess it's gaining more knowledge. So I have a remodeling company, a flipping company, and then we do new construction builds also. I also own a gutter business. And so with that, it's more of, once you're able to talk to your clients that you have these things, then they trust, it's that trust thing. They trust you for your knowledge and stuff like that. And so, what I've learned, I got into it all because as you're growing as in a realtor, you're seeing everybody else make all the money. So I'm making all these investors money when I'm giving them the deals, and then I'm making my little percentage of commission. So, I believe you should invest in what you're working in, so most of all my investments are back into the flipping houses and selling, and even working wholesale deals and things like that. So
I'm always fascinated whenever we chat with people, especially people that have like come from other businesses, because a lot of people when they get into real estate, they don't necessarily come from other businesses, or they haven't done other businesses, or maybe real estate is probably the last thing that they do, like as a sales profession. They spend a lot of time in the space, but when it comes to like the teams that you're building, and even the clients that you're serving, I know that you have a big focus on investors, and like, really working alongside investors. And me and Vic have had this conversation before around like really every agent in every market should have a list of investors that they go to, because even in a down market, investors generally are still looking to buy and sell property, especially the good ones. They're still looking to find property so they can grow their portfolio. How have you been able to attract investors in a way that actually gets them to trust you, that you have their best interest in mind? And where would you recommend a real estate agent in their local market find a list of investors that they can essentially help them find deals in their market?
Cool. So, I initially started with let's flip our own house with our own money first. And, either you get a bank loan or get a hard money loan. And so I flipped one initially with my own money, flipped two with my own money. And then I just made a Facebook post and said, hey, would anybody like to make 10% return on your money in 6 months or less? And then people just started, hey, some old clients of mine were like, that they trusted me because I sold them their house. Like, hey, we got money, what do you want to do? And so I received investors just from that standpoint for the flipping part. But if you're looking for investors and buyers, huge want to do is try to find a house that you're selling as is, and then just post it looking for cash investors on Facebook Marketplace. Craigslist is still huge with this kind of stuff. People forget about that one, and you will get all these investors just giving you all their info. They're just going to reach out to you. The other thing I look for is wholesalers. Wholesalers is a big thing. If you don't know what that is, just a quick one is it's people who are buying and selling real estate without a real estate license, where they're just trading off the property and handing over the contract. Well, there's, in our area, we've got a massive wholesaler inventory of people. And so, I try to look for every ad that could be a wholesaler on Facebook, and then I reach out to them and say, hey, can I get your info? Can I get on your list? And so I buy a lot of deals through that way, and they buy a lot of deals from me. So reach out, look for anything that's wholesalers, put an ad out on Facebook Marketplace looking for wholesalers. They're going to be your number one source, because they're spending on average $4,000 to $10,000 a month in postcards and stuff like that, trying to find deals. So let them spend the money. And then when you get a deal come to you, you just reach out to them and they'll buy it. And they've got a huge investor list of buyers also. The other thing I look for is I scan the county property appraiser sites and see who owns the most rentals. And so, wholesale flippers are looking for the best profit margin. And so they want the best deal. So it's hard. If you don't have a good deal that's got a lot of equity in it, then you want somebody who's buying it for a rental. And so what you do then is that reach out to everybody who owns all the rentals and say, hey, do you want one more for your portfolio? And you can sell that in a smaller range. So that's helped me a lot in the last couple of years.
What are you what are you seeing right now in your guys' market? Because you work with flippers, you work investors, you work with rentals, first off, kudos to you for coming up with some creative strategies on finding everything. But what are you seeing right now in your guys' market? Like, are you seeing a slowdown in investors, or are you seeing more investors? Like, what are you seeing right now?
As an investor, I wish we were seeing a slowdown in investors. If anything, it seems like more and more people doing it. You get so many people bragging about how they made so much money on a flip. It just brings everybody out. And we're a huge military market and a second home market. And so our military people are trying to become flippers, and which is tough, because I watch a lot of these guys lose a lot of money because they don't know what they're doing. And so I've had to help a lot of them. They'll call me because they're like, hey, Chris, somebody recommended you, said you do this all the time. And my number one question to them is like, do you know what you're selling the house for? They're like, no. And I'm like, you bought a house that you want to flip and you don't know what you're going to sell it for. How do you know how much money you're going to make? And so that's probably the number one. Somebody thought it was a good deal, and that's, how do you know it's a good deal if you don't know what you're going to sell? So overall, our investor market's up. Anything, our average price point probably right now is around 400,000 because of the military area. Anything under 400,000, we still get multiple offers. Several offers we did this week were multiple offers. Our multifamily is selling multiple offers right now, but anything over, say, what you get 500,000 or over right now has slowed down a lot. Our $1 million properties is in our condos are still very hot right now because a lot of 1031 exchanges, a lot of people pulling their money out of stock, buying investment rentals. Those are still hot, but like your primary residents from say 500 to a million have slowed down drastically.
You have a ton of knowledge that I think that I think the vast majority of real estate agents, if you're listening back to this podcast, the fact that you were able to ring that off so quickly, like you understand your market updates, you understand where things are currently at, what is happening with inventory. Like, how do you, I guess, consume all of this information and where do you find this information and how do you compute it so quickly? Because I think we work with a lot of agents and, we do, we implement a lot of Sharon's market updates and they're, people I chat with agents who are I don't even know where to find this information. What would you recommend to a real estate team leader, to a team agent? What should they be looking at daily in order to get the knowledge? Because I look back at even my corporate career, and one of the things we would have to do daily is we'd have to constantly learn product knowledge. We have to know about the product in order to sell it. And it's you clearly have that. You know what's happening in the $1 million market. You know it, understand your market. How does one understand their market at a deep level?
Yeah, so a lot of mine is just learning over time. But the biggest thing you can do is, I used to watch the hot sheets every morning, and first thing I do before I read any emails, because once you get into emails, your day's over. You just go down that rabbit hole. So before you do anything, look at the hot sheets of what is selling, where the price drops are coming at, and then what's coming back on the market. And if you can, what we're seeing is that anything over that 5 million range in primary residence, price drops every day. And so, and then on those condos and then investment rentals for $1 million or even up to probably $1.5 million, those properties they're not staying on the market more than 5 days to a week, where all those other houses are probably lasting about 30 days on the market. And so if you can watch that hot sheet and pull up the expireds, so mine shows expired spendings, actives, coming soons, everything. And so I try to look at all of that. And then I don't look at just the little town that I live in is called Niceville, but Destin in general. I try to look at everything around and search that whole thing, just watch what's going up and down every day. And that's really helped.
I have people that don't even know what a hot sheet is that I've talked to. It's you're in real estate for how long? And you wonder why you're not having success. It's unreal that people have zero product knowledge about the market or what they're doing. So let's go back to you have 6 different businesses right now.
Yes, sir. So the gutter business, we just started a year ago, roughly. And it was because, as we try to get gutter quotes, nobody shows up, so it's why don't we just start the business then? And so that's kind of how everything else is going, is that, if you can't get nobody to show up, why not start the business?
So let me ask you this question, Chris. I think I have a fucking crush on you right now, dude. You just crush it on so many levels. It's amazing. I got a question for you. When you were starting out, right, and you're thinking about leadership and you're thinking about management, because not only do you have to manage yourself and your team for real estate, which is, herding cats some days, but you're also running multiple other things where you're, contractors or construction workers are not the most reliable people at all times. They live rough lives, they go out, they party, they do crazy shit. What are you doing to manage your businesses? What are some of the things that, maybe not just for real estate, but what are some of the things that you're doing that you, if you think about, that really run deep to your core values that help you manage so many different operations and so many different moving parts without, going crazy?
I'm probably going crazy. So with that, from that, because I got so many things going on, everything is getting written down on my phone. Everything's getting put in my calendar immediately. If I take a phone call and there's an appointment, or if I have a inspection coming up, it goes into my calendar immediately, because the chance of missing that is going to cost me a couple days. And so I write down everything. I keep the notebook with me all the time, and constantly taking notes. And then the other thing is that, when you hire somebody, be quick to fire them too. If they're costing you time and all that stuff, let them go. If they're stressing you out, they're going to keep stressing you out. So let them go. You're not always going to get a good person. I've had some really bad people that work for us. But ultimately is, once you find that good one, make sure you pay them. That's probably the key to the thing, because somebody else, once they know that you're doing good, they're going to be after your employees. And so we definitely pay our employees good. So those are my key tips on that one.
Yeah. One of, somebody was asking me today, what does it take to be successful? And I said, you should write a lot of notes. Like you should have a lot of notes. So I have what I call a rich dad. He's a, multifamily genius. And he carries a notebook in his backpack. He doesn't care where he goes. He has either a little notebook or a big notebook. But the little notebook gets transcribed by him by hand to his big notebook, and he doesn't leave his office. He might leave his office, but he'll come back and finish the stuff. And if he doesn't finish something that day, he'll put it to the next day, and he'll put it at the top, and he'll make sure it gets done. So if he says he does something, if he says he's going to do something, you better believe he's going to do it. And he's just super, super organized. And that's one of the things that he says has helped him become, as successful as he is today. So cool.
Chris, I want to wrap up with, if somebody were to want to reach out to you, maybe it's an agent, and they are looking to refer you some business, maybe agent referral, maybe they just want to chat with you. Where is kind of the best place that they can reach you in order to have like a conversation?
So right now, I'm a phone number you can call, text, pretty much anytime. I work late hours. So phone number is 850-865-7975. And then my email is ccarterteam. So CCARTERTEAM @gmail.com. So ccarterteam@gmail.com. That's probably best. I'm revamping my website and all that stuff for future places, but that'll be good for now.
Chris, bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. You're a wealth of knowledge. And I think that anyone listening back to this podcast, if you don't know what a hot sheet is, you should definitely figure out what a hot sheet is. Just so super, super grateful for you. Super, super grateful for just all the wealth of knowledge you have and that you shared with everyone that is listening to the podcast. And I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast. We'll see you soon.